Yeah.
I just think we're all done. We're so done with it. I
Okay,
mean,
we
it's
are
time to move
going,
on.
we're going
Go ahead.
live. So we're live
Okay.
whenever you're
Okay,
ready
we're
to
live.
start. We are live.
We've got Jim. I'll wait until it shows 6 o'clock.
No, you're good.
Sounds like it'll be a short meeting tonight, right?
Yep, we're just gonna go over some training. The state and all the departments try and have training every once in a while. And we don't know when the APA conference is, so a quick brush up and kind of let you know what the plans are. It'll be quick and easy, and we get it done. So.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started at 6 o'clock. We'd like to welcome everybody to the March 18th Pleasantview City Planning Commission meeting. We especially welcome those who are joining us on YouTube. And we'd like to begin this meeting with a volunteer, please, to
And we don't know
have a prayer or an expression of thought.
Brush up and kind of let you know what the. Sorry.
Have a volunteer for that, please.
I had to make sure it's on, but I'm not at my normal desk, so sorry, guys.
Okay, I'll go ahead and offer it. Father in heaven, we bow our head before thee this evening, giving thee thanks for the many blessings of which we enjoy, grateful for this opportunity we have to meet as a planning commission and to discuss the affairs of this wonderful city in which we live. We pray for all of the citizens within the boundaries of this city that they'll be watched over and protected. That the discussions and decisions that we make and have will be of a great benefit to each and every one. We pray that they'll know of the concern that we have for our community and for the citizenry, and pray that they'll know that our hearts and our desires are in the right place. We pray thy spirit will be with us, that we'll be able to discuss those things that are important for our city and for our commission. And we offer this prayer in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, this time I have the fun little thing to read. Okay, pretty soon we might not have to read this, huh? In accordance with Utah State Code Section 52-4-207, I, Keith Priest, Pleasantview City Planning Commission Chair, hereby make the following declaration: that the state of national and state emergency has been declared in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that Governor Herbert and Governor Cox has extended the emergency declaration for Weber County issued on July 24th and extending to March 18th. And the state code has been amended to allow for the conduct of electronic meetings in an emergency without an anchor location. And the Planning Commission Chair shall read or cause to be read at each electronic meeting the reasons and facts behind the declaration. Therefore, Pleasantview City Planning Commission shall hold electronic meetings as provided for in state code. Thank you for that. At this time, if there is any conflict of interest, I guess there probably wouldn't be. We don't have any agenda items except for training, so I'm certainly there won't be any conflicts of wanting to be trained. At least I would hope not. So with that, then we'll ask for an approval of tonight's agenda and also approval of the minutes from March 4th Planning Commission meeting. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Julie, you're muted.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda for tonight's meeting
And the minutes from March 4th.
and the minutes for March 4th.
Do we have a second?
I'll
Make a
second.
second version.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any opposed, say aye. Okay, if not, looks like the only thing on the agenda pressing is training. So Jill?
Okay, so let me pull this up really quick. While we are, there we go. Might get a little loud here, sorry. People are leaving. So we have our training.
Cool.
Let's see, there we are. So I can see your faces. I gotta There we go. So you guys are the recommending body for half of our stuff, and then actual decision makers, the land use group, for a few other things.
Jill,
Yes,
there's somebody whistling.
we've got the mayor and Amy in the back.
Oh, okay.
They-
Never mind.
They just got done with the meeting. So let's see, where's my cursor? There we go. So for ordinances, you guys are a recommending body. Not all the ordinances will come through you guys. You guys are the land and the land use. So anything with zoning, subdivisions, things like that will come before you guys. And things that you'll want to look at are, does it fit the look and the goals that Pleasantview has? And that's where the general plan comes in and things like that. What I'm saying is you don't necessarily have to just stick to that. Ask some questions, that's good and great. But to keep in mind with voting, don't base your voting on a specific incident or specific piece of land, because our ordinances are broad and for the whole city. And with zoning, as you guys can tell, things come in for different zones, zone requests all over the city. So that's something to keep in mind. And don't base your voting on how does this benefit the developer, or how does this benefit a resident, or specifics. We have to have a broad mind when it comes to ordinances. Okay. The things that will be presented to you guys in staff report, I can't stress to you guys enough to make sure you read and you're prepared. That will help the meetings to go by fast. Not too fast where we don't ask questions, but prepared and not sitting here and having our quiet moments where no one says anything. Dean usually says something funny, which is great. So the ordinances that would be brought to you guys, if it's something that we're trying to remove from the ordinance, it'll be striked out. And the proposed are highlighted, and they'll also have the recommendation from the staff. If only one portion of the staff is recommending, then it will specifically state who's recommending it. Okay, let's see. Rezones are the same. Yeah.
Jill, can I ask, what do you mean by that? If only one person from the staff is recommending it, is that unusual or?
No, but if it's made known that, hey, I'm not recommending it, it will specifically state the planner or the engineer. If it's not most of us, if one person says, I don't want my name on that, it will state who recommends it, and underneath it'll say who does not. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
because we typically don't, not seen that. That's why I'm asking that question. Thank you.
It's not typical, but if it has possibly came up and then they decided, you know what, we're fine with it. Does that make sense? So that doesn't normally happen, but it could. The rezones are pretty close to the same. They're public hearings. Those are, as you know, we open up the public hearing, we let people talk. Things to look at: does it meet the general plan? Does it fit the area? That is the biggest thing. We don't want to do spot zoning. And to kind of help you understand what spot zoning is say we have this whole area, everything meets the general plan, but then this one piece decides that they want to rezone to neighborhood commercial is a little different, but for example, RE15, you guys have asked, you know, does it match this area? Does it match this area? Is it close? Yes. So if we had RE15 clear up on the hill where everything else is bigger lots and it doesn't meet the general plan, those are the types of things you want to be careful with. That's called spot zoning, and that can get us in trouble. Usually I will point it out before, because that's my job to make sure it's meeting everything, or if there's any concerns. So the things that you shouldn't determine your vote on, the rezones are just that, rezones. They're not the subdivision aspect. That's when they come in for the subdivision. So I'm not telling you guys not to ask those questions. You can bring those questions or those items up. It might help the developer so they kind of look into that going forward. But don't base that decision based on that. For example, the Christofferson rezone. The important things to look at, for example, on that one is, does it meet the general plan? Does it fit within the conditions that are up there in that area? So you wouldn't necessarily put a huge trucking company up there because we don't have a road that would be able to support that clear up there above 4,300 unless they were putting it in. Does that make sense? It's more to make sure it fits the area.
That makes sense, Jill. I would think that in most cases, spot zoning would be pretty obvious because you'd be making an island out of that particular part of land.
Yes.
Is that a safe assumption?
That's a good assumption, yes. And with the items in the ordinance, or will be in the packet, the current zone, the request zone, and the biggest part is their draft plan. It's just a concept plan to make sure it fits what they're wanting to do. So if I had a piece of property and I said I wanted to rezone it an RE15, but my lot's really maybe a half acre, if that, but I wanted to keep a bigger chunk for my property, that way they can show that it either works or it doesn't. So that's one of the big things. Preliminary subdivisions, you guys do awesome on. Ask questions. Important part is to make sure concerns are brought up. For example, the Budge Lane, and you guys had that concern. Open spaces, that doesn't happen for every subdivision. Those are usually for the clusters, the PRUDs, and things like that. But to make sure, you know, we have enough water, you know, ask those questions. It's great. That's what we should be doing. And so, conditional uses. There's some things in that's being proposed. So, as whether the governor signs them or not, I'll let you guys know. Conditional uses and site plans. These are your guys' calls. You guys get to make that decision. Conditional uses are permitted uses with conditions. And according to state law, the conditions have to be listed. So you remember that huge list that we went through? I'm not going to make you guys go through it again, but I'm going to start bringing them to you guys so we can list these conditions. For example, there were some that we wanted to look at. We just want to look at. That's great, but we've got to have conditions listed, or else it's really what's causing it to hit us. Does that make sense? A good idea. I know one thing you guys wanted to look at was the preschools and things like that. What would the condition be? I think one of the issues that you guys wanted to make sure was traffic. How is it going to flow? So things like that, we need to make sure we start thinking as we bring these up, so you guys can instead of just, we just want to see it, we have to have those conditions listed. Okay.
Jill, it looks like what you have here are really a checklist items, which is really a good idea. Is that in that monster 3-ring binder that you made for us?
Yes, but this is a simple version. I can email this PowerPoint out. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jill,
Yes.
may I ask a question? It's a question that I've had, like we've had two that have talked about open space areas. And I know that parks in Pleasantview, we've really had really quite a few parks per population, but we are presently putting through subdivision upon subdivision upon subdivision out to our west. And as each of those are approved individually, at what point do we stop and say, okay, we've now filled up 40 acres and we don't have a park anywhere there?
We actually have a park on Highway 89.
Okay.
It's been kind of a rocky start, but it's going, it's doing good. So that should hopefully be up and running, hopefully within the next, I would say hopefully this year. People might start stopping, but I don't think it's finished.
Okay.
But it is going out there, and it's a pretty big park.
Okay. So
There,
I wasn't aware of that one, but that's a
that's a good
question.
question.
That's a question that we could bring up on these subdivisions is what access do they have to green space? Have we adequate green space for these subdivisions going in, right?
You can ask that, yeah. Open space within subdivisions are usually with HOAs, which are the PRUDs or the, things like that.
Okay.
But that's a good question to ask. What's the closest park? Where things like that. That's great. No, that's a great question. Notice street lights are on there, Alicia. So you can make sure they have adequate street lighting, which is most of this is actually, all of this is actually looked at with our engineer. So you can just make sure, check it off. Yep. Did we address this? Andy is wonderful at making sure with the water table down there to make sure we address those. So you guys are a good balance and checks and balances. So site plans are for you, so you guys know, any commercial development has to come through if it's a brand new building. Okay. Or if they're building anything new within a lot. For example, we did, who was it? CNC did an extension on their property down on Parkland. That was something that came before you guys because it was a new building within their lot. It was a few, I want to say a year or two ago. But so again, as things change with the state, I'll get you guys up to speed. Minor subdivisions, the difference between minor subdivisions and preliminaries have infrastructure that will be dedicated to the city. So that could be sidewalks, water sewer lines, not laterals, lines, roads, things like that. Those would be considered preliminary, and that would go to city council, where minor subdivisions are pretty much creating a line, subdividing a lot in some way that already has the infrastructure. That comes to you guys. They should still have, depending on how big the area is, for example, I'm going to slaughter this name. The minor subdivision that was not too far from Orchard Springs. It was 3 lots and we shifted some lines. They already had infrastructure, so that's why it came to you guys. So things like that, depending on how big the lots are, they will have to do LID, that's a state requirement, retention or detention, controlling, everything, and we have to make sure that they have the utilities. So those are the big things that you guys see coming through. Just some quick reminders with public hearings versus public meetings. Public hearings, we allow people to speak. That's really your call about public meetings. We do not allow them necessarily unless the chair welcomes them to make comments. One big important thing is when you guys are in meetings, make sure you're careful on what you say. They are recorded and they're public record. So also make sure you are careful in what you do. You don't want to pick your nose. There's been other cities that someone's picked their nose in the meeting. It's kind of entertaining, but you want to make sure you don't. If you're on a phone, don't take it anywhere you go. Don't go to the bathroom, things like that. Just make sure you're in a good place and you're taken care of. Okay.
Now that you said that, it makes me want to rub my nose, but is that just you or me? What?
Just go like this. Go like that for a second and then back up.
It's not just you,
That
Sarah.
way.
It's the same for me.
I know my nose is itching right here, but
It's all good. It's all good.
really, the important thing is to make sure you're careful in what you say as well.
Mhm. So Jill, when a meeting formally ends, and sometimes we might be chit-chatting about something after. Now, is that then still recorded, part of the notes, or once the formal meeting has ended, that's it?
I would either wait and do it before a meeting, because once I'm live on YouTube, it's kind of hard to take it off unless I close the
What
meeting.
she's asking is, if we adjourn a meeting, can you shut down YouTube and we can
I will look
continue
at
the
that.
conversation?
I think
I
if you
will-
have
And
a
if there's
quorum,
not a quorum. So
Yeah, I was gonna
the problem
say.
is with state law, there's specific meeting rules. If it's a meeting in person and you want to have a conversation, which is one of the commissioners, but even then, because you are in this land use role, you're really not supposed to be having that type of dialogue. It's very challenging. And so if it's just a friendly thing, like, hey, did you watch the Jazz game or what? That's fine, but you just have to be really careful.
that's what I was going to say. Since you're all together and it's a quorum, you can't shut off the recording. You're all there.
At the beginning, usually
And
when
you
there's one or
and you
two,
met for a
you're okay.
meeting, which is even more so. You met for a meeting. You can't shut it off. Say, let's talk about something else, because you've already there. You've met for the purpose of a meeting. You can't shut it off.
Thank you, Sarah.
So does that kind of help answer your question, Julie?
Thank you. Yes.
Some things that we need to make sure as we go through, as things come through on agendas, be careful what you say with personal things, because once it's on there, it's on there.
Yes. I may have
So-
made that mistake before.
To be honest, I don't remember a lot of the conversations we've had in the past with Zoom. Did someone say Jill? Okay, maybe I'm hearing things.
It was
But-
a little
I was gonna say, we may not remember it, but we can look it up because it's recorded on record.
Yep. And believe it or not, public meetings are written down word for word in the meeting minutes. So, yeah. If
Well,
there's
and
questions,
Jill, do you mind, sorry, if I
Go for
add
it.
on to that too? In one of my past life roles, I was on a planning commission in Clearfield City, actually. And we actually actually had something that evolved into a lawsuit. And so what was said during the planning commission meeting actually went to litigation. And so that's something to consider too. The media has access to this type of thing sometimes. And so maybe it's something you said 6 months ago, but it could come back to haunt you or to benefit the city. I know in our case, there was actually some benefit to the city because of what some planning commissioners said. And so just be on task, be professional. I mean, we've got such a great group here. I'm not at all worried, but just things to keep in mind that it is a weird thing to be on recordings and to have this kind of history and record that's semi-permanent. And it's just, you know, be thoughtful of that because we've got great professionals here and appreciate your willingness to step up to the plate and fulfill this challenging role for sure.
And one thing to also keep in mind, the agenda is sent out in hopefully enough time for you guys to read it. I try and get at least a week, if not 5 days. Don't hesitate to call and ask any questions. If it reminds you of an issue or, hey, I'm pretty sure this has an issue, and so don't hesitate to ask. That way we can have a good discussion in our meetings, and that way we can also make sure we're staying on task and moving along. Does that make sense? I'm here every day. Amy's here every day. We're more than happy to answer any questions or concerns you may have. So make sure you read the packet so we can be on task and stay focused. Okay. Coming up, now that's training, by the way. Some of the things that are coming up, APA conference, they're hoping to have it in Kanab. We don't know of a date, so not sure. But once I know, I'll let you guys know. And if you're interested, we'll hurry and get that going. The legislature did vote on some items that might be coming that will affect some of our stuff in the planning commission / land use. Really, it's land use. So depending on what Governor Cox does, I will let you guys know. And Keith, just so you know, we're looking at the question you brought up with the HOAs and the lights. So we'll get to you on that one as soon as we can.
Appreciate it.
But that's really it. Just make sure if you have questions, call us. Make sure you read your packets. That way we can have good discussion. We don't have anybody to take Nate's place yet. We're creating an application, so that will be coming. Amy, do you have anything else?
Is he officially resigned? He has.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if he's moved yet. I can hurry him. While I'm looking, Amy, do you have anything?
Okay, I'm unmuted. No, I don't have anything this evening. Just again to reiterate, so grateful for the service to our planning commissioners. I know it's a little bit of a thankless role, but it's a very critical role and helps move the city along and brings in another filter and another kind of set of eyes on some of these items. So thank you so much for your commitment and your time to the city.
Yeah, thank you.
You're muted, Julie.
I have a question for probably our Commissioner Priest, our chairman. I've been thinking more recently about diversity, and I know at the beginning of our meetings when we ask for thoughts and prayers, not everyone is comfortable maybe or desiring to pray in public, but I think it would be nice to incorporate all of our commissioners in whatever form they're comfortable in, whether a thought or a prayer, and had wondered if perhaps that could be requested at the end of our meeting for the next meeting so that somebody could prepare in advance. I mean, whether it's a prayer or it's a patriotic thought or something that has to do with civic duty, I think it would be nice to have that a little more inclusive. And I think that would go a little smoother. I don't know, Chairman Priest, how you would feel about that.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and that's kind of why we have an opening prayer, reading, or an expression of thought. It's for anybody to open up and share whatever they want. If somebody has a patriotic poem or a thought they would like to share before we start a meeting, I think that's great. If what you're suggesting, we make those assignments, is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, because I think a lot of times if somebody has a thought, you don't think of it till all of a sudden it's a spur of the moment thought, but perhaps if we were looking ahead and somebody had said, yes, I will come prepared with a thought, a prayer, or whatever, that could even be on the agenda, that thought or prayer, thought expression by so-and-so. And that might be an opportunity for more participation.
I'm all about the participation, and I strongly feel, and I think everybody agrees, the whole reason why that opportunity is there is to start our meeting off on a positive note, whether it be a prayer or a thought or a poem, or to have Jim sing a solo with his guitar, whatever that is. But I don't know if we have to assign. I don't know if that would work. The thing I've seen that's bad about voluntary meetings and you make an assignment, if that person doesn't show up, then it's suddenly like, well, now what do we do? So
Keith, if I
think
may.
every one of you go ahead, please.
We actually do that. Lori, our recorder, takes the lead on that, and she just goes through an automatic rotation that a city council member, she takes care of the rotation, has the prayer or expression or reading of thought, and the Pledge of Allegiance too. So, and if they're not there, the mayor just either he does it or he asks somebody to do it. So, but that's just an FYI. I wasn't necessarily suggesting that, but that's just something that we do.
I'm okay with that. I just don't want to be that person making the assignment.
Yeah.
So,
No, I was thinking,
Jill,
even along that line.
I think it's a great idea, and I know it's kind of awkward, but I don't think any one of us would be offended if we didn't start with a prayer and somebody just said, I read this thought today that I thought was, uplifting. Share it.
I don't think anybody would be offended, but sometimes, particularly on thoughts, I know I don't have thoughts until I'm asked for a thought, and then I've got to think about it before.
we had a previous elected official that they did that. They weren't necessarily religious, but they read expression of thought, and so it worked out just fine. There wasn't a prayer, but an expression of thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keith, if I might chime in, just
Please.
one for the periodic, for the fact that it was July, and for the fact, because I know of the situation, the meeting that it was going to be for, I actually gave a expression of thought for the month of July several years ago. It was the only time in all of the years I've served that an expression of thought was given instead of a prayer. So personally, I'm easier with coming, and either somebody comes prepared with a thought rather than being assigned, because I'm lucky if I make it on time, let alone coming at the last minute. So if anybody comes prepared with a thought, I love giving or hearing thoughts, and anybody, bringing thoughts, I'm more than open. But in the planning commission, all the years I've served, I've only heard one thought or reading given. But on the city council over the years, I've heard several times, because there have been a couple different mayors and a couple different council members that have provided thoughts instead of prayers.
Just, for the record, it's more than appropriate. That's why the questions asked it. I just think it's good to start a meeting with an uplifting, positive thought or note. Jill, could you make that assignment? Would you be all right with just going down the list? And if you assign and that person doesn't show up, then I'll punt.
I'm more than happy to do that. If whoever's on right now, if you don't feel comfortable with that, you need to tell me before. Okay, and I'm more than happy to skip you I don't want people to feel uncomfortable either.
Yeah, so just remember, it's not, there's no written rule here. It could be a poem. It could be a verse of a song. It could be, just as long as it's not controversial and it's uplifting. Which
I'm just waiting for it. Say it, Dean. Say it. Dean's just laughing. So.
I think Julie's got a pretty good idea, because we do have some challenging times in the recent past. And sometimes if you have a little advanced preparation, it can involve a message that would really be appropriate for that particular time. So I think that's a good idea.
It is a good idea. If Jill will take it, it's a great idea.
I will.
And then if you get the assignment and you don't feel comfortable, just shoot her back an email saying you don't feel comfortable. And like I said, then when the time comes, I'll punt. If that's okay.
I think that's just fine.
Thank you, Julie. That was a great suggestion. And I think an appropriate one. I've often thought I'm like Andy. I've been over 5 years and I've never heard anything but a prayer. So I've even thought about, I always feel bad about skipping the Pledge of Allegiance. And I thought maybe if we have one person read it, we can all in our own way recite it in our minds, maybe even have a flag in the corner with our hand on our heart. It's just when we have all of us doing it at once, it's hard. It's really awkward.
What we can do with that is I can share a screen of a flag, and then everyone can be muted except for who's leading it. How do you guys feel about that?
Perfect.
I thought
Thumbs up. All right. Okay.
good idea.
I
So
love
will
it.
that be an assignment too, or will that be a volunteer?
You want me to assign it to the same person that's doing the thought, or do you want me to do it someone different?
Commissioners, what do you think?
All the same.
Same? Okay,
Yeah,
that makes it easy.
the planning commission opening ceremony is going to be held by one person while the rest observe, is basically what you're saying, right?
If that's
Yeah.
okay. If it's not, say something.
Just item A on the agenda.
You got it.
Hey, Jill,
Yeah?
is this meeting being recorded and logged and all of that
Yes,
stuff?
because we
Oh my
have a
goodness.
quorum.
Sweet. Well, then I would like to say that is precociously supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
I'll let,
Why would
You're
you like to
welcome.
say it?
great one.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great one.
Just so
That's what we-
somebody has something to do with their fingers.
Yeah, I'd love to
Figure
see
it
someone
out.
typing that up.
Appreciate that.
Do you have a machine that types this for you, or do you actually have somebody that hand types it?
Right now, Brendan is helping me, so I don't have to do it by myself. So thank you, Brendan. I know you're you will
That's-
either watch or be listening. So thank
There is the
you.
technology where it's not very
YouTube.
accurate. It's pretty accurate, but not 100% accurate.
YouTube actually pulls everything and does the best it can, and we still have to listen to make sure. So, yay. It's good.
Don't use Don't use Siri to translate.
No,
Sure.
it's a good thing. Sometimes it's hard, but it's good. We want to make sure we have a good record, accurate record, and that will benefit both the city and the residents within it.
I agree. Okay, any other suggestions, thoughts, comments?
I have a couple. Is this the after business that you're doing right
Sure.
now? Or are you?
No,
Well,
what
if
we-
it's not, I'll get on when there is. So
You're good?
is it? Okay. Are you sure? Unless you're still going through some agenda items.
No, we're not. But
It
can
was
I
a
Oh.
training,
ask you a
that's it.
question?
Okay. Yes.
Last few weeks, last few meetings, we can only see your mid nose and your eyes.
I hate
It's
looking
kinda-
at myself,
It's kind
Keith.
of like somebody peeking over the counter, right?
I'm sorry. It's the worst to look at my face on Zoom. I hate it, but that's okay. You're not the only one. I have other council members who text me during meetings, say, would you please put the screen up, Sarah? So that's okay. Here I am.
Do what I do. I just look at everybody else. I don't pay attention to myself.
So, no, just a couple things. First, we had another Founders Day meeting, and I just want to ask you guys, would you like to be in the parade? Planning Commission. Okay, because we are going to have a parade. Yay.
That was so much fun. No, I totally want to do that.
Okay, because we're going to have a parade. I'm just making sure Planning Commission wants to be in the parade. And if you have preferences for shirts or whatever else, let me know, because we'll just probably do the same kind of version what we do as City Council, but different colors. If like kind of like we've done in the past.
Sarah,
And
what is
just
the-
use
what is
last
the
year's
date?
shirts?
Pardon?
I'm sorry, Sarah, what is the date for the parade?
It is June 26th.
Yeah, because in the past, I've been the one who's arranged for the color guard and all that business.
Right. So we'll
Hey.
make,
I have to have lead time, so I'll jump on that right away.
okay, yeah. And I'll give you Allison's phone number and stuff so that you could, does she reach out to you and take care of that? Or do we need to convey a message to her?
Year after year, we're old buddies. So I've got all this-
Okay, perfect. Yep. June 26th, if you want to start working
Okay.
on that.
I will.
And we also in the past have traditionally had Planning Commission help out with the Salmon Bake too. And so we'll have you guys, talk to Becky, Dean's lovely Becky, and let her know if that's something that you would like to do. If you would
The
like
color of the warden.
call her the warden, and the warden told you that you have to have 2 slides after the parade set up by 10:30, right?
I don't know. I just do what I want on the slides, but I call her the
10:30.
warden because
Okay.
I'm a prisoner of love.
Okay.
Oh, there's an expression of thought. That's wonderful.
Okay, so 10:30, we need to have those set up, and we are bringing the fireworks back to Barker Park because the district decided that we needed $1 million filled up at Weber High, and it's no fun anymore. Now that we can go on it, but you can't take anything. You can't take you all but have to go barefoot on that darn thing, and so we're just moving like the fireworks, the band, everything. We're still going to launch them from where we launched them last year, but we're not going to gather on the football field. We're going to come back to Barker Park. Promise you, it'll work. Yes.
The slides tend to make a small lake on the south end of that park.
Right. So if you, as long as we keep it on that south end as much as we can, then we're okay, because the band's going to be up by the north baseball diamond, and it's going to be mostly there that people will gather. People go there anyway. They do, whether people are up on the football field or not. And the soccer field will be open, but that's not where the band's going to be. The band will be over there by the diamond north. And the parking, Weber's parking lot will be used, and we'll close off 500, and we're working the police department to make this work, because otherwise you get to go to the football field but you can't do anything. I'm serious. We wouldn't be able to take any food, drink, any sort of certain only things to sit on. They're very, 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 very restrictive on what you can do on that field. So they've ruined all of our fun. Dang it. Anyway,
That's
really
because of the artificial turf.
it has to be reseeded every time there's a game played, every time the cross plays, and it's very expensive. It's crazy. They have these I don't know if it's rubber, but these little tiny black pellets that they have to reseed inside of the turf every time there's a football game or anything played on that thing.
It's actually ground up rubber tires.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's just crazy though. And so anyway, we're still going to have the big, huge fireworks up in the air, and we'll have the radio option still, but you'll also have the live band. So that'll be cool.
That's awesome.
And there's weekly activities of the Goose Chase still and the Friday night movie in the park. And
What are
we'll
we
have
watching?
the parade. Last I heard, it was Mike Hurst suggested the Crudes. And so we'll see if that's,
Oh, okay.
I think that was, we all just kind of said, whatever you choose, Allison. So
The second cruise, I think. So
Yeah,
the
the
challenge
second
is Disney ones are really expensive.
they're actually not that much more, but that's okay. So there'll be 2 movies in the park in June and 2 movies in the park in July. And our food trucks start June 14th. And so we'll have a food truck on June 14th, and then Founders Day, and then the second and fourth Mondays of each month, July through September, with the pumpkin thing on the last. And in case you were wondering about the Pleasantview Drive closure, and not that I want to go into a big discussion about that, we are in discussions with North Ogden somewhat. I don't know what you've heard, but it's not a permanent closure, and there's supposed to be a public hearing that's coming up from North Ogden. And so if you're interested in participating and letting North Ogden know how you feel, please. I think that's, yeah. So there's more discussions to come on that.
That discussion is open, because when it was in the paper, it was like, this is a done deal.
It's
The road
not
will
a
be
done
closed.
deal.
Good.
They haven't had a public hearing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Amy. They haven't had a public hearing. They have not officially closed that. Some people have been saying that's misinformation. They do not necessarily have approval for a light. There's a lot of things that have been said that are not.
Is that road, is
all
that
the
a
way.
UDOT road all the way to the top, or just to 2700?
Dutch Road
Washington
is
Boulevard?
that intersection. So 2700 to the intersection, and then North Ogden owns
400.
north. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
400, okay.
they're responsible for the widening from 2600 up. I just read, and if you go to UDOT's website on Region 1, they'll tell you what part of the project that they are in charge of and participating in. And North Ogden, yeah. So anyway, you might just, despite what you may see on Facebook, nothing is final yet.
Okay,
There you go.
great.
It just means we haven't accepted it.
No.
Read the signs that are blocking the road. It's closed.
But you know what? That's only temporary. It's actually going to open up to a right-hand turn pretty soon, according to the council members that I've been talking to and their public works director in North Ogden. So
Sweet.
With Dean, I'm pretty skeptical.
I
but
know, but
I'm
we're
hopeful.
doing our best here.
Positively optimistic.
There you
That's
go.
right.
See, there's another thought. Dean, you're full of thoughts.
Oh, I've got another one if you want to hear it.
Sure.
We're live, Dean. We're live. Anyway,
Okay. Whether you believe you're right or wrong, either way, you're correct.
okay. Deep Thoughts by Dean. That's
There you
what
go.
you should name it
That's a
on
good
your
one.
agenda. Deep
I
Thoughts
like
by
it.
Dean.
Sounds like a title of a book.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one page.
Hey, so
No.
get Jill your sizes. Get Jill your sizes for your shirt. There you go.
Okay.
You'll want to make sure, is it all going to be men's sizes or are they
Specify
female?
if you want, like, for instance, I hate V-necks and so does Ann. So we're going to wear a men's shirt.
I'd like to wear a men's shirt.
That's a good idea. So if you would like to wear men or women, specify that and then your size. So
Who are we telling our size to? Jill?
Jill.
Jill? Okay.
Mhm. and she'll get it to me.
My size is bigger than I'm supposed to be, according to the
Will it
chart.
be a button down like last year's, or will it be?
Do you have a preference? Do you like, Steve likes the sport material or and the mayor likes the button down collar?
I like the button down collar.
I
That's
like
my
the button
I
belief.
down
like the
collar.
collar too.
Okay, so unless somebody has a strong preference the other way, we'll make sure that you guys have the button down collar.
Okay. Appreciate it. Anybody have anything else? Thank you. Thank you for all you do, and we'll adjourn until the next meeting. So move.
Yeah.
I see heads nodding, so we're in
Motion to
agreement. Thank you
approve.
very much.
Oh. Motion to approve the
And a
adjournment.
second. Okay, we'll see y'all next time. Thank you.
All right, good night.
Night.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Guys are awesome.
Bye-bye.